games, my perspective. In this live stream, we will go over who is playing today, who will be the starting pitchers. I have information regarding the money line, the over-under, and once I've gone through that on each of them, then I'll make my picks at that point for today's Major League Baseball games. Can y'all hear me out there in YouTube land? Again, if you're just joining me, thank you for joining me for this live stream today on the Major League Baseball picks, my perspective. Let's get started with this, shall we? We have Tampa Bay versus... What I'll do is I'll go over the information, and then I'll go back through and make my picks. So, Tampa Bay versus New York Yankees. The starting pitchers will be Zach Littell versus Clark Schmidt. The money line has the New York Yankees minus 185. The over-under is 9.5 or 10. The next game we'll look at in more depth here shortly will be Houston versus Chicago White Sox. You have Hunter Brown versus Davis Martin. The money line has Houston minus 265. The over-under is 7.5 or 8. You have the New York Mets versus St. Louis with Tyler McGill versus Eric Freddie. And the New York Mets with the money line minus 150. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Cleveland versus Toronto. Gavin Williams versus Kevin Gausman. The money line has Toronto minus 145. And the over-under is 7.5 or 8. You have San Diego versus Pittsburgh with Randy Vasquez versus Bailey Falter. Pittsburgh has the money line with minus 115. The over-under is 9.5 or 10. You have Colorado versus San Francisco, which will be Bradley Blaylock versus Jordan Hicks. The money line has San Francisco minus 290. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Minnesota versus Boston. Bailey Ober versus Hunter Dobbins. The money line has Boston with minus 120. The over-under is 9.5 or 10. You also have the Athletics versus Miami with Devaldo Beto versus Max Meyer. The money line, Miami minus 125. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Arizona versus Philadelphia today. Brandon Plaid versus Aaron Nola. The money line has Philadelphia minus 125. The over-under is 9.5 or 10. Washington versus Cincinnati. You'll have Trevor Williams versus Nick Lodolo. The money line, Cincinnati minus 185. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Seattle versus Texas. Luis Castillo versus Patrick Corbin. Seattle has the money line minus 130. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Chicago Cubs versus Milwaukee. Jameson Taillon versus Joel Quintana. The money line has Milwaukee minus 115. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Kansas City versus Baltimore. Chris Bubik versus Tomoyuki Sugano. The money line is Baltimore minus 110. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Los Angeles Dodgers versus Atlanta. Roki Sasaki versus Spencer Schwellenbach. The money line, Atlanta minus 115. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. You have Detroit versus Los Angeles Angels with Jack Flaherty versus Kyle Kendrick. The money line, Detroit minus 180. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. So, now, in the game, Tampa Bay versus the New York Yankees, I think in this game, I'm going to go with the New York Yankees winning it. I'm not sure my thoughts on the money line, so since that's the case, I'll tell y'all what the money line is, but I don't think I'm going to do anything in discussion with that. And for the over-under, I'm going to go over. I think both teams will score runs. The next game, again, will be Houston versus Chicago White Sox. I think I'm going to go Houston to win that one. and the over-under is 7.5 or 8, and I'm going to go over. In the New York Mets versus St. Louis game, I'm going to go against the pros on this one, and I'm going to say St. Louis wins the game, and it will be under 8.5. In the Cleveland versus Toronto game, I think I'm going to stick with the pros. I'm going to go Toronto winning that game, and I'm going to go over the 8. San Diego versus Pittsburgh, you have that game is a little bit tough for me. So, either one could win on that one. I'm going San Diego to win it. And on the over-under, I'm going under. I don't think 10 runs will be scored between the two teams. Next game is Colorado versus San Francisco. And, the pros favor San Francisco. I think my pick is going to be, I'm going to go against the pros and have Colorado win that game. And I'm going to go over the 9. All right. Minnesota versus Boston. Let's see. The pros, it looks like the pros favor Boston. I'm going to agree with the pros on that one. I'm going to have Boston win that one. And I'm going to go under the 10. So Boston will win and, Boston will win and under the 10. And hello to you there, Orangino. I do appreciate you coming into this live stream today. We're doing this Major League Baseball perspective thing. I just went over who's playing. I went over the starting pitchers. I went over the money line and who it's favoring, and then I went over the over-under. In some cases, I will agree with the pros on this. Some I will not. I don't really have an explanation on why I would agree or disagree with the pros, but this is my perspective today, and so it's more or less just kind of my gut feeling when it comes to how the games will play out regarding the Major League Baseball games today. So that's what we're doing right now. Let's see. In the Athletics versus Miami game, the pros actually favor Miami, so I'm going to go Miami on that one. The over-under, I'm going to go under the 9. I don't think either team will score a lot. So, next is Arizona versus Philadelphia. Let's see. The pros favor Philadelphia. I'm going to agree with them on that one. We're going to have Philadelphia win that one. The over-under, I'm going to go under. I don't think 10 runs are going to be scored. Next game is Washington versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored. I don't agree. I'm going Washington on that one. Something just tells me Washington will beat Cincinnati. And I'm going under the 9. Next game is Seattle versus Texas. Seattle is favored to win this one. I'm going to agree with the pros on that one. The over-under, I'm going over the 9. Both teams are known for scoring points, so we shall see how that plays out. Next game we have will be the Chicago Cubs versus Milwaukee. I do not favor Milwaukee at all in this one. Milwaukee is struggling right now, so we're going to go with the Chicago Cubs. And in terms of the over-under, I'm going under the 9. I think that's the best course of action for that particular game. Alrighty. Let's see. The next game we have will be Kansas City versus Baltimore. Baltimore is favored to win, but it seems like it will be a very close game. So I'm actually going to disagree with the pros on that one. They have Baltimore winning. I favor Kansas City. So we're going to go Kansas City, and I'm going to go over the 9. Let's see. Next game we have is Los Angeles Dodgers versus Atlanta. Los Angeles Dodgers are doing pretty well. The pros favor Atlanta, and I am an Atlanta Braves fan, but in this circumstance, I'm going with what I think will end up being the result. Atlanta seems to have real trouble defeating teams from the West, and that's more prevalent in the second half of the season than in the first. But I think because of my intuition on that one, I'm going against the pros. I'm going to have Los Angeles Dodgers beating Atlanta, and I'm going to go under the 9. I don't know if both teams will score a lot of runs at all. All right, the last game we're going to look at today is going to be Detroit versus Los Angeles Angels. Detroit versus the Los Angeles Angels. The pros favor Detroit, and so will I. The over-under, I'm going to go under the 9. So we're going to favor Detroit, and we're going to go under. So the picks that we have for this will be as follows. In the Major League Baseball games, in Tampa Bay versus New York Yankees, we went New York Yankees and over. For Houston versus Chicago White Sox, we went Houston and over. With the New York Mets versus St. Louis, we went St. Louis and under. Cleveland versus Toronto, we picked Toronto and went over. San Diego versus Pittsburgh, picked San Diego and we went under. Colorado versus San Francisco, this one I went against the pros a big time. I picked Colorado to beat San Francisco, and we're going over. In the game Minnesota versus Boston, I picked Boston, and we're going to go under. Athletics versus Miami, we have Miami winning, and we went under. Arizona versus Philadelphia, I chose Philadelphia and went under. Washington versus Cincinnati, I picked Washington to beat Cincinnati, and I went under. Let's see, Seattle versus Texas, went with Seattle, and I went over. Chicago Cubs versus Milwaukee. Milwaukee was favored by the pros. I went with Chicago, and I went under the 9. In the Kansas City game versus Baltimore, I went Kansas City, and in the over-under, I went over. The Los Angeles Dodgers versus Atlanta. Atlanta's favored by the pros. I went against the pros and went with the Los Angeles Dodgers to win that game, and I went under the 9, or whatever that was. And finally, in the Detroit versus Los Angeles Angels game, I picked Detroit to win the game, and I went under. So that is Major League Baseball games today, May 3rd, 2025, my perspective. Thank you for taking the time to hear this live stream today regarding my Major League Baseball picks. There will be future Major League Baseball picks perspective live streams in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. If you will, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of when I am broadcasting live, when I have breaking news in the sports world, when I cover sports action videos, when I cover sports education videos. If you wish to subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. If you will, please hit if you go to the YouTube channel, you can go to www.youtube.com, the slash symbol, the at symbol, SPORTSLOV. You'll know it's me because I have Sports Love Media burned onto a basketball as my avatar. The other way through YouTube is go on the YouTube search tab and type in Bob Amin. Still, you'll know it's me because you'll see Sports Love Media burned into a basketball as my avatar. Also, I'm on Twitter X. My handle is at BobAmin16. That is the at symbol, BOBAMIN 16. We will do another Major League Baseball live stream regarding the same format, most likely on Tuesday. There will be other live streams when appropriate. We've got some championship events coming up, and we will be doing live streams regarding making picks for those said things. So anyway, with that, thank you for tuning in today to this live stream. I'm Bob Amin. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day.